Good afternoon, Bruins. My name is George Brown, and I serve as the director of the Alumni Scholars Program here at the UCLA Alumni Association. Thank you for joining us today for Alumni Day Online. It's great to have you here with us. This hour, we will be exploring the journey of a Bruin football player on and off the field through an interactive question and answer session with Brendon Ayanbadejo. Brendon played football and graduated from UCLA with a BA in history. He received college All-American honors, was named All-Pac-10 linebacker, and won 2 Pac-10 championships while at UCLA. This 3-time NFL Pro Bowler is known as much for his leadership on the field as he is for his resolute devotion to champion the right for gay couples to legally wed. After playing 13 seasons of professional football, Brendon is ready to explore new options by using his momentum as a Super Bowl champion to spread the word of equality throughout the country. Before we get started today, I wanted to thank our Blue, Gold, and Life members for making events like Alumni Day possible. It's through your generous contributions and continued support that we're able to plan events and provide resources for all Bruins. We hope today's event will be a highly interactive one. You can ask direct questions throughout the episode by using the live chat, so don't be shy. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Now let's get started. Brendon, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Wow, well, I think, with just turning 42 last week, there's probably a lot to say. We probably don't have a lot of time to get there. But basically, I grew up in Santa Cruz, California. I always played sports and I was very active throughout my life. I grew up in a very liberal town where everyone was treated equally, and you saw all kinds of different diverse families, and that kind of laid the background for who I ended up being as an adult. So throughout my NFL career, I went to UCLA. Then throughout my NFL career, I was always a champion for equality. I'm a proud Bruin. After finishing my time in the NFL, I was also going to George Washington Business School. So I did business school for 3 years. I know I'm a Bruin. I should have did it in 18 months. It took me a little bit longer. And now I'm in health and fitness with Orange Theory Fitness, and I'm also in franchising. So exercising, continuing to participate in equal rights, exercising my entrepreneurial spirit, and trying to just live my best life here back in Los Angeles. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. One of the things that is often contemplated is when athletes play college sports, a lot of their time is devoted to that sport, whether it be practice, traveling to compete. How did your UCLA education prepare you for football and life after the NFL?
Yeah, well, one of the great things was when I was being recruited to go to UCLA, and different from other schools, we were encouraged to be part of the community and to take the community with us. So, while I was leaving Santa Cruz behind, a big thing that got me to UCLA was the likes of Jackie Robinson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Arthur Ashe, and a lot of prominent Americans that we see that have changed culture, society, and politics. So that was big to get me into UCLA. And throughout my time at UCLA, we were always encouraged to participate in the community. And it wasn't just a sports focus. Your studies, community, and sports were all up there and very important.
Okay. So I know that you were part of both the CFL and the NFL. Could you compare the two for us and tell us the pros and cons of playing for each league? And you might want to give some of our viewers just a brief overview on what the CFL is, because some people might not know.
Right. So the CFL is the Canadian Football League. It's the oldest football league in the world. It's older than the NFL. And I would compare it JV to varsity. So NFL is varsity, CFL is JV. Now, with varsity comes a lot more, you have to be a lot more responsible and a lot more pay, and the eyes are critically on you. You can't make those mistakes, whether it's on the football field or out there in life. The CFL, not as many eyes are on you. A lot of the CFL guys, they work in the off season. So, if you're a banker and you also play in the CFL, half the year you're a banker, half the year you're in the CFL, or whatever it is that's your trade or whatever puts the bread and butter on the table, the CFL is only going to account for part of your income. Now, the NFL is the big leagues. Of course, the NFL, you're going to get paid relatively well, and you're not going to have another job in the off season. You're just going to dedicate everything to training, eating, sleeping, and playing football, even in the off season. that core stays steady. You're just not playing a football game. So that's the big difference between the two. The NFL is the most dominant sport, at least in America. Worldwide, it has a huge imprint as well, but it's the most dominant sport by far in America. And they're working their way up there through the ranks of being a veteran sport. But the CFL definitely has it in seniority, but not by any means in the business sector.
You know, we're going to get to the projects that you're currently working on. But before we do you ever wake up in the morning and say, man, I miss playing football? And if so, which I imagine you do have some of that at least from time to time, because it was such a large part of your life, how do you fulfill that void of not being on the field and in competition like you were for so long?
Great question, George. Well, for me, I actually don't necessarily have the bug to continue to play. It took so much work and so much effort and beat up my body so much. And there was such a huge sacrifice in missing the family that I don't necessarily miss it. Yes, I miss the guys. I miss the showmanship and the stardom that comes with it, but I don't necessarily miss the game. And the reason really why I don't miss it is because I have a great team now. With Orange Theory Fitness, we have over 11 locations open. We have about 15 or more employees at every location. So my team now is over 165 people. We have a huge team. And instead of being an income taker or a revenue taker, as an entrepreneur, I'm a revenue generator. So there's nothing more special to me than seeing some of my employees getting married, having kids, buying homes, buying cars. And so, it just kind of shifts. Instead of it being all about me on the football field, now it's all about my team, and I'm kind of the general manager, and I'm helping run the team along with my business partners. So it's just a shift, and I have a huge team. And if I didn't find Orange Theory Fitness and this huge team of amazing people that are around me, I definitely would miss football a lot more than I do now.
I'm going to throw in, we have a question from one of our viewers. Who have been your most significant mentors on your journey?
Yeah, well, luckily for me, I have a brother that's very close to me, Brendon Ayanbadejo. He's 18 months older than me, and he was basically trekking through the ice, and I went behind him. So while there would still be different things that I'd have to bob and weave around, he did all the tough sledding. He broke up all the ice, and I just followed his trail. So we're very close in age. We're very similar in look and stature and personality. He's probably a little bit smarter than I am. I'm probably a little bit more handsome than he is, even though he went to San Diego State. But the good thing about it is that we both played 10 years in the NFL. We both went to business school. We went to Johns Hopkins. So I was down the road at George Washington University in DC. We're both Super Bowl champions, NFL, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, fathers, proud Americans, proud Nigerians. So I had a great role model that was the first person to greet me into this world, and I've been with him ever since, just 18 months apart. So if it wasn't for my older brother, I'd probably be a lot different person than I am today.
I listened to you kind of describe you and your path and your brother. What was in the secret sauce? What did your family do differently to raise such two fine young men that are very successful? Is there something that you can attribute to your growing up, your upbringing, that had an impact that led you guys in such a positive direction?
Yeah, I think, most of the credit has to go to my parents, and things weren't easy growing up. We grew up in the projects. We grew up on welfare. I actually lived in Chicago till I was 10 before I moved to Santa Cruz, but we grew up on welfare, government assistance in the projects. And, all we had was each other, really. And I think about the way that my kids are raised today completely differently. And they don't know what it's like to be hungry or to sit in line and to have food stamps and sit in line and wait for government assistance, powdered milk and government cheese and whatnot. So all we had was the family unit. So I really credit it to my parents. They did an amazing job of keeping us together. And then the first opportunity they had to get us out of the projects and out of poverty and away from gangbangers, they took it, and we went to Santa Cruz, California, and every cent my parents earned went towards private school while we were in Chicago. Then we moved to California, and we were able to go to public school and live in a nice community. I grew up on UCSC campus, so I've been a product of the California university system since I was 10 years old. I was very proud to go to UCLA, but it all had to do with my parents and their scheme and their plan to make us contributing people in society, and that was their goal.
People that know you know that you're passionate about the LGBT community. Could you tell us where that passion comes from? Does football have an influence on that? Was it family that really motivated you to be forward thinking and to to communicate your feelings and beliefs and stand up for what's right?
Yeah, so, I'm a product of a biracial home. And if you guys are familiar with Loving versus Virginia, in the 60s and 70s, interracial couples weren't allowed to wed in certain states. So that's where my whole foundation of equality stems from. My parents' ability to get married in the 70s, knowing that some families didn't have that, and knowing that LGBT community and same-sex couples, they didn't have the same rights as some couples that could go get married in Vegas. So really, this is just about equality. It's bigger than the LGBTQ community. We see what's going on in society today with systemic type of racism and incarceration and all the different things that the minority communities are facing today. And it's still going on today. Luckily, because of social media, we can see it, and we can do peaceful protests, and we can change it, and we can represent our families and our communities and be better Americans and make this country a better place. So it stems from, a long line of things that have gone wrong in this country, and people on the right side of love and on the right side of equality and freedom trying to change that. And those are people from all different backgrounds. There's white folks, there's brown folks, and Latinos, Asians, everybody. We're all in this together to make this country a better place.
I couldn't agree with you more. Do you think the stance that you've taken on what I would like to say is equal rights has had an impact on your career, positive or negative?
Yeah, it definitely has. It has had an impact, and I would say it's positive. A lot of people know who I am, not because of how good of a football player I was or I have a Super Bowl ring. They know because I took the stance. So when I took the stance, I was on Ellen and GQ magazine and CNN and all these different news stations when we talked about equal rights and marriage equality. And eventually we got it passed in Maryland, we got it passed in Minnesota and other places. So definitely I'm known way more for my prowess off the football field than on the football field. And I'm proud about that, especially now. My kids will look back and I hear college students and high school students come up to me and they say, hey, I knew you. My professor talked about you, or my teacher talked about you. And they're not sitting there talking about football. They're talking about equality. So I'm very proud about that. And I think, Colin Kaepernick, we'll be talking about him for years and years to come. And, we might not be bringing up Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or Tom Brady, but I guarantee you in 20 years in history classes, we'll be bringing up Colin Kaepernick.
So now on to what you're working on now. Can you share with us a little bit about your Orange Theory Fitness project? How and why did you get involved with that?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned early on when you had introduced me, I came out, I think I popped out with a ball or a dumbbell when I was born. I've always been very active, and I've been into health and fitness, and I've been in a very select group of people. I've always, not always, but as I got into the NFL, I was only around other athletes. I only trained with other professional athletes. That's 0.00001% of the population. There's like 2,500 NFL guys. There's 325 million people in the United States. So I just worked out with other professional athletes. So one day I walked into Orange Theory Fitness and I saw an amazing fitness program that everybody could do. It brought everybody together. It challenged people. It changed people. And I saw an amazing fitness opportunity for me because it wasn't in California. So my very first day that I walked into a studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on February 6, 2013, I remember the day, I said to myself, hey, I need to bring this back to California. I'm going to use everything that I learned in business school. I'm going to use all my connections. I'm going to find out everything I can do. I'm going to turn over every rock and stone, and I'm going to try to help bring this thing back to California. Subsequently, I did that. We have 11 open locations. I'm a part of 30 open locations as it's called an area developer, but you can kind of look at it as a master franchisee. But so I've helped bring at least 30 locations here to California. And we've also recently opened in Melbourne, Australia as well. So we're super excited about our future. We think we're about a third of the way there. A lot of work still to do, but we're super excited and engaged to change this fitness community and just change the world to make people healthier and happier and live better lives.
That's awesome. I got another question from our viewers, and it's what influenced your decision to go through the franchise route as opposed to doing your own project?
That's a very good question. I'd actually, I had a very expensive lesson early on while I was playing before I completed my MBA. I tried to open up a yogurt shop on my own. It cost a couple $100,000. We got it open. I could have it sustained, but I couldn't make money doing it. And so I told myself the next time I do something that's franchising and I'm in the retail space, I'm going to try doing it instead of mom and pop style. I'm going to try to do it at the franchising route to see if there's any differences. And with the franchising route, you have the name, You have a whole team behind you, a corporate team that's helping push the brand and promote the brand, and they develop the brand as well. So the franchising route was the best thing I ever could have done. I feel just as satisfied. My cup is just as full. I wake up just as happy every single day being a part of Orange Theory Fitness franchise as I did playing for the Dolphins, playing for the Ravens, playing for the Bears. I'm living my second dream life, and I'm very lucky to have achieved the first one and even luckier to do it twice in a lifetime. So franchising was absolutely the way to go for me.
Now, I've seen tons of commercials for Orange Theory, and it looks completely different than your normal gym experience. So could you tell us a little bit about how it differs? If I were to sign up for an Orange Theory membership, how would my experience be different than one of the other competitors?
Yeah, well, I think, the first thing is I'm looking at the class roster, and so do all of our coaches. So I had 2 first-timers in class today. I texted them this morning, hey, how you doing? How's your body feeling? Do you have any injuries? So on and so forth. So I'm instantly making the personal connection. It's a community. It's not a place that you just go in and you go out. You come in, you say hi to people, you have an amazing workout. We get to know a little bit about you. You get to know even more about us. So once you feel like it's a community, then you feel like you're in a safe place. And that was very important to me, to make it feel like everyone was safe and they could go in there and they could forget about the whole world and go in there and just have an amazing hour workout. Now, the workout's going to hit you mentally, physically, and emotionally. So we're tying people in. They have heart rate monitors. You'll do about 30 minutes of cardio. You'll do about 30 minutes of resistance training. We can mix it up any which way. We also have water rowers, but we come up with the program. All you have to do is show up with a positive attitude and ready to work. We're going to make sure you're safe. The workouts are approved by cardiologists and other medical professionals. So we take a ton into account. It's the most advanced fitness program that I've ever seen, even when I was in the NFL, and it's also the safest. And there's always a professional there keeping their eyes on you. So it's a lot to take in. Your first 3 workouts might be a little bit hectic, but once you settle in and you start to figure it out, you're going to be like, man, this is where I need to be. And then we're going to start buying you some smaller suits, George.
I wouldn't argue with that. What is the age range of your clientele? How young do they start? And what's the oldest person that you see?
Yeah, so younger members that are in their preteens, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, 15, they can come in with a parent. At 16, you can start to come in on your own. We've had members up into their 80s come and work out with us. So the workout's very friendly. On our treadmills, we'll coach power walkers, joggers, runners. We have bikes and striders for people that have any orthopedic issues. So it's very friendly. Most of the people can do it. And that's the thing that I loved about it. It was a very inclusive workout. The coaches give you guys various options and different things you can do. Say you have a hurt shoulder, we'll just change the workout. If you have a hurt knee, then we'll just change the movements just a little bit. Not change the workout, but we'll change the movements so we're not, aggravating any orthopedic issues. But it's very friendly from age, from all different age ranges and all different levels of exercise capabilities as well.
It's wonderful. So as a fitness industry leader, what type of people do you look to hire? Specifically, what kind of Bruins do you look to hire?
Man, we have a ton of Bruins on the team. It's amazing. I love it. And we're in Brentwood, so the studio's right across the way. We have another studio in Century City. So I'm sorry, the school's right across the way. And so there's 2 kind of studios just kind of kitty corner to UCLA. And I think with anybody, we have Bruins on the team. We have people from Northridge on the team. We have Trojans on the team. The most important thing is that you're going to work hard and that, you're going to respect and be in an environment where you're ready to learn and work hard and respect the people around you. I can work with anything. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. We don't care about the way that you look. You just have to come to work presentable. And, if your hair color's one way or there's piercings in your ears or all that stuff, tattoos, we don't care about any of that stuff. Just be presentable with a smile on your face, ready to work hard and respect people. And those are the people that I love. The thing that I've learned the most since being a part of Orange Theory Fitness is the hard work always shines through. People that want to work hard, they're going to shine, and we promote those people. They all of a sudden they become assistant managers and area developers. It's always the hardest working people that are the most successful in our company.
That's awesome. That's the way it should be. I have another question from the audience. Somebody asked, how would you feel if your kids wanted to be professional athletes?
That's funny you asked that, because guess what my kids want to be? They want to be professional athletes. So with my son, I purposely didn't make him Junior or name him after me, because I wanted him to be his own self. So I named him after Mozart. So his name's Amadeus. And Mozart, as you know, is one of the most famous composers in the world. So I don't really care what my kids do. If they want to be professional athletes, if they want to be doctors or lawyers or artists, musicians, whatever it is, as long as they work hard at it, then I'm going to support them. But the second they're saying, oh, I want to be a professional athlete, and they're out eating bad food and they're staying up late and they're staying on their phones and they're not working out and going to practice and all that, then it's like, why should I pay a lot of money? I can just send you to the YMCA instead of sending you to the best coaches in the world. So the harder they work, the more I'm willing to support whatever their passions are. And I'll put their passion first. I think it's more important than their education. I think it's more important than so many other things, because I want them to be able to go into what they feel is important. Of course, we're going to do all the things that we have to do. So they're going to be smart, intelligent, and the same goals my parents had for us is to be contributing people in society. But I'm going to feed that passion as much as I can so they can grow up and be successful.
Okay. I have one other question from our audience. We're getting busy out here. As someone who is not very active and may not be able to afford a membership, what tips do you have for baby steps to getting fit?
Yeah, well, I think you have to do something. So do you have kids? Do you have a dog? Or do you have a park that's accessible, somewhere where you can walk? So let's just start with walking. We'll walk, 30 minutes. Maybe we'll start out 2 times a week. Then we'll go to 3 times a week. Something that's very friendly to the exercise novice is yoga. We can also do yoga. I think it's very intense, but yoga, a lot of people are like, okay, I'll try yoga first. And then something you can do at work is, if you have a desk at work, maybe we turn that into a standing desk. Maybe we stand while we're at work. That'll actually keep off, over the years, standing at work for a few hours a day can keep off 5 pounds a year as we age. So there's a lot of little different tricks. What time are you eating your last meal at night? When's your first meal in the morning? A lot of different ways to hack the body and to do things more efficiently. But I would start with walks. If you're brand new and you haven't worked out in a long time, let's go on a nice brisk walk, 30 minutes. Let's start out at 2 times a week. Eventually we'll increase it to every other day. Start doing some yoga with that, and you're on your way to incrementally getting better, healthier, and more fit.
Great. I'm sure you still follow UCLA football. What piece of advice would you give to young Bruins who dream of playing pro ball?
Man, that's a good question. And that's a tough question as well. I would tell them to chase their passions. If their passion is to play professional football, of course, they're more than just a football player. If you've been playing football since you were 5 years old and that's all you know, then you need to find some other passions as well. So believe in your education. We have an awesome, amazing UCLA alumni network. And there's Bruins out there like me that are looking for you guys that are talented, whether you played football, basketball, baseball, or you just were a player on Bruin Walk. It doesn't matter to me. So the most important thing is chase your passions, believe in your education, and then go out there and work hard. So you got to be more than just a football player, though. We want to hire amazing people. Even in the NFL, they're looking at amazing people. You look at an athlete, just to bring his name up, he's having a hard time finding a job, but he's an amazing athlete, is Dez Bryant. Now, why are people not looking to hire Dez Bryant? Everyone talks about the New England Patriots. They don't have any receivers, and there's teams out there that don't have receivers. Well, Dez Bryant, a former Pro Bowler, sitting there at home. Well, he's not that likable in the locker room, or he's tough on his teammates, and maybe he's not doing all the best things off the field. So you have to tie it all in together. I think there's a lot of people that can be professional athletes out there. It's just they don't have the discipline, and they're not sticking to the script. So you got to do those things as well, but be more than just a football player.
Great advice. So what's next for Brendon? What's next on your bucket list, on your passion list? What do you want to explore?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we're about one third of the way through our business model right now, and what we want to do with Orange Theory Fitness. We're looking internationally, so we're looking at France. If we end up doing France, we'll do 100 more units in France. In Australia, we're about to sign our deal to do about 20 units in Australia. And then domestically, we have 30 kind of under our umbrella. We want to get 100 under our umbrella. If we do all that, I'm just going to retire, and I'm going to be my kids' coaches full time, and I'm going to do philanthropy full time once we get that done. It'll probably take us about 5 to 7 years to get all that done. But if it happens, man, I'm shutting it down, and I'm being super dad and super philanthropist for life.
There you go. I have one more question that just popped in. It says, it sounds like Brendon used his time in the NFL to provide the capital to become an entrepreneur. Is there room for the NFL to provide resources for its players to do the same?
Yeah, and those resources aren't in capital. Those resources are in education. So yeah, there's more the NFL can do. They actually do a ton right now. There's a ton of secondary education. You'll pay for, grad schools. Of course, if you didn't finish undergrad, they'll pay for that. There's all kinds of little certificate programs that you can go to. For me, the program that I went to was kind of tied to the NFL. My MBA was done mostly off season. My second and third year, but my first year was done in season. So if guys want to continue to develop as a broadcaster, an entrepreneur, a coach, there's a lot of different avenues that the NFL has available, but is it enough? Of course, there's more that we all can do to be better. There's more the NFL can do to be better, to continue to educate the players, retired players, and get them in a situation so they can be a lot more successful. I think it's kind of daunting when you look at some of the numbers of what's going on with NFL athletes post-career, what's going on with divorce rates, economics, income, all that. It's a little bit stifling. So the NFL should dive in a little bit deeper, commit more man hours, more resources to kind of curbing some of the things that are happening with players. But once again, you can't just blame the NFL. You have to blame the players as well. You can't just be a football player your whole life. It's a young man's game. The average guy retires at 26. You've been playing since you were 6 years old. You've been playing 20 years of football. What have you done to develop who you are besides a football player?
Thank you, Brendon, for your valuable insights and advice. It's been wonderful sitting here having this conversation with you. There's so much knowledge, and I appreciate you taking the time to share with me and our alumni audience about your journey and what you're doing now. It's just a really inspiring story. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and be with us today. So we really appreciate this opportunity to converse with you.
Thank you, George. And I look forward to seeing you on the tennis court in Bruins. I'll see you guys either throughout LA, or I'll see you guys in Orange Theory Fitness in Brentwood or Century City. Thank you.
Thank you. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us and participating in the discussion. If you missed a portion of the conversation or want to share it with others, you can find the recording on the UC Alumni YouTube channel. And once again, thank you to our Blue, Gold, and Life members for making conversations and events like this possible. Enjoy the rest of Alumni Day Online, and go Bruins.